This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.
Well, Cam, have you just figured out you've been covering the wrong sport in this town?
Absolutely, right? Should go where the winners are, right? And that's college basketball, obviously. How many people,
The hell
and
is
maybe
wrong
you
with you,
guys,
bro?
I don't know. I clearly do not make good life choices.
You could be covering Nova. You could be covering a national champion in Nova Southeastern, bro. You could be covering a Final Four team at FAU and UM. What's wrong with you, bro?
Yeah, it's crazy.
You could cover the Lady Canes going to the Elite Eight. It's amazing what's going on in this town, dude. Huh? Is that crazy?
Yeah. The Mecca of college basketball. That's what they're calling it, right? You know, South Florida, the new Mecca of college basketball. Now it's been
for a guy like you that really isn't yet like a full entrenched South Floridian yet, you know, like in 10 more years, if you're still here, you'll probably start to really feel more about the local teams. But does it give you a little buzz? Because I know UM and FAU don't mean anything to you, but it's, you know, you kind of, you know, you're entrenching yourself, your family here in South Florida. So how do you get on the bandwagon?
So I'll have to preface this with this. The Canes beat my Houston Cougars in the Sweet 16. And so I was rooting against them in the Sweet 16 and it did not work. They beat us pretty good and it hurt. But since that loss, I have been on the Canes bandwagon and now FAU's bandwagon. And I'll tell you what, there is a special feel. Like it's cool when you go. Like I was at a sports bar to watch that game. You see all the Canes fans uniting, and you know, this is a fan base kind of like the Dolphins, where they haven't been good for a while, but they're a national relevant team. I'm talking about the Canes as like a sports period. Like football, it's been since the 2000s since you could really trust the Canes. You know, and so
it's a brand. It's a brand,
right? Is it like the Dolphins? The Dolphins are a brand, but most of the Dolphins that you talk about are from the past, right? That's what the heyday is. It's sort of like it's not as far in the past, but it's still the past.
It's individuals. Nowadays, it's just Dolphin individuals you might talk about, but not team accomplishments. You're correct.
Exactly. And so this feels like everybody getting back together like, whoa. This and it almost feels like a little bit of a surprise. Like I don't know, maybe you know more than me, but this didn't feel like throughout the season, oh, this is a Canes team that could go to the Final Four. It felt like, hey, they're good, but I don't even know if even their fan base realistically said, hey, we're Final Four bound. But then it starts to get together and you start to win, and you're like, wow, we can do this thing. We can do this thing. And now they're right there, like coming back the way they did against Texas. And I love that because I hate Texas. Us Houston folks, we hate the University of Texas. And so I got a lot of joy out of watching them crumble down the stretch and the Canes come back from, I think, 13, 14 down to win that game. And FAU is just an incredible story because just being real, I did not know that FAU had a basketball team until this year. Yeah,
wow.
That's like maybe that's just me and not being in on it. Like I'm
that's
sure
it is.
they had.
I mean, yeah.
I didn't know. Like
they've had all kinds of like big names coach
at
FAU. Yeah,
really?
Dude.
I obviously knew they had a football team, but a lot of times you have some Division I programs that have a football team, but not necessarily a basketball team. It doesn't always correlate. And so I hadn't heard much, and obviously it makes sense because it's their first tournament run that I didn't hear of them, but I hadn't heard much of it. And so to see them kind of make this run is special. Like I've actually got a buddy who works in for ESPN West Palm and up there, and so he's been covering this team from the start. And I've been watching vicariously through him as he goes on the road, and they're having watch parties where there's 300-400 FAU fans in these random cities. And I'm like, that's dope, you know, for this fan base to get to experience this. And now they get to go to Houston. He's going to Houston to cover them. So I am very much rooting for. I'm not partial to either one. I would just love to see at least one of them. I mean, it would be dope. The dream is to have a Miami FAU championship game, but I will settle for one.
I'm going to give you Dusty May is their current coach.
Okay. Yep.
He's the guy that has no name out of the last 6 names that they've hired. How hardcore of a basketball fan are you?
I say I'm decent, but probably in the last 20,
You ever
25 years.
You ever heard of Sidney Green?
No.
Okay, well, Sidney Green was a pretty damn good NBA player. Played for the
Okay.
Milwaukee Bucks. You ever heard of Matt Doherty?
Yeah, I've heard of Matt Doherty.
He
Yeah.
played with I believe he's the one that played with Michael Jordan. Rex
Yeah.
Walters played for the Heat, played for Kentucky. Rex Walters? No?
No.
Mike Jarvis.
Mike who?
Mike Jarvis, the coached
Yep.
St. John's.
Yep. I'm
Washington
familiar.
coach. Michael Curry played in the NBA.
Yes, very familiar with Michael Curry.
Then Dusty May. These
Yeah.
are the coaches that
That's
have
a nice
been
group.
there. Yeah, but my point is that program has been trying, dude.
Yeah.
They have brought in names. They have tried to really build their basketball program, and they have not been able to. And it's funny how, Dusty May has been the guy that's kind of, broken through here. Now,
Right.
college basketball has changed. Look, I'm a sourpuss to a certain extent because I lived the 80s and the 90s, dude.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sorry, you're never going to match me watching Patrick Ewing and Michael Jordan and Larry Johnson and David Robinson and all these guys play for 3 and 4 years. You can't beat that. You'll never be able to top that now. And that's why I've been a sourpuss. This is basketball is not as entertaining to me as the other. But I will say this. This is the cool part about this one. Everybody's got a shot.
Yeah.
And that's
absolutely.
actually really, really, bro, San Jose State, San Diego State, I'm sorry.
San Diego State.
Miami and FAU are in the Final Four.
Right. UConn's the only quote-unquote big team in the Final Four. And none of them are 1 seeds. None of them are 1 seeds. None of them are 2 seeds. Right. I think UConn may be the highest one as a 4 seed, right?
I think so.
Yeah, because Miami's a 5 seed.
Yeah.
San Diego State is a 5 seed, and FAU's a 9 seed. So you got a 4, 2 5s, and a 9. That's the parity of college basketball. That's why we love March Madness, because anybody can beat anybody. We got a 16 that beat a 1 this year. You got a 9 seed in FAU in the Final Four. And I hope some chaos happens. That's why I say I hope FAU or Miami wins it all. It would be incredible here. And I almost want FAU to win it a little bit more just because of the chaos. That it's like, who is FAU? And they come on and win a national title. So yeah.
It's crazy stuff. All right. Your thoughts on the Dolphin offseason? What needs to happen next?
Yeah, I'd say that the offseason is probably largely, for the most part, this will be the free agency acquisitions. A lot of times you'll get a couple tricklings after the league meetings. Like right now, the league meetings just started in Phoenix. And so today, tomorrow, you'll have NFL teams there talking with agents. And a lot of times you'll see some veteran free agent deals come this week coming out of the league meeting. So there may be a signing or two for the Dolphins. It could be for another team. I don't have any info as far as what that would be, but that would probably be the one push. And then after that, it's probably nothing into the draft. And after that, pretty much everybody waits to the draft to see what they get, what they don't get. And then you fill the rest of your holes after the draft or right before training camp. And so for me, I'd still love for them to get a little bit more offensive line depth, particularly at right tackle. From what I understand, they have not had any conversations or any fruitful conversations with Brandon Shell, who I know you've talked up a lot. So I'm not sure what's going on there. Maybe they're waiting, or maybe they just have somebody else in mind. But that would be a position that I would expect them to target at some point. Obviously, the draft's an option, but I would love to see them get a veteran in there as well to compete at that position. And then I'd say some more depth in the defensive side of the ball. Whether it be another linebacker, bringing in another cornerback, bringing in another defensive lineman, get a little bit more veteran depth to compete there, because I think they have their starters pretty much intact, but you need a little bit more depth for injury wise. So that's probably what I would look at. But I'd say that 90% of your veteran free agency is done by this point.
Bobby Wagner just re-signed with Seattle for 1 year for $7 million.
Yep.
That's and $7 million goes a lot farther in Florida than it does in Washington.
It does. That shows you that shows you that the Dolphins did not have much interest.
Yeah.
For better or for worse. I know we talk a lot about the big names here. It's like, what about Bobby Wagner? What about this guy?
Wagner and Long
And
in the middle would have been fun.
it would
Is
have,
it,
but clearly
okay,
teams have evaluation, and
so
so the
is
problem.
Baker ruining this? Is Baker ruining this? Because they really can't get out
Yeah.
of the deal until
So
next
so
year.
Yeah, they would have had to make a decision before his deadline, his guarantee picked up, which was the Friday of the first free agency week. And so they essentially decided to keep him with the contract as is. So his contract is guaranteed. And so Jerome Baker, barring a trade, will be on the Dolphins in 2023. They're not going to pay his guarantee to get rid of him. And so he'll be on the Dolphins, and most likely David Long will start next to him. Now they'll have Tyndall compete probably for that third linebacker spot. But like I
Right.
said, just based on what we saw from him last year, I would feel more comfortable getting another backer in that room, especially given Long's injury history. So if somebody gets hurt, you have a guy that you can trust playing on defense. Obviously, you have Duke Riley there, but I think you'd rather have him as more of a special teams, depth competition guy, not necessarily as your, one play away guy. And so that's why I say that. But, age is an issue sometimes at free agency. There's a lot of ageism going on. I actually had a player ask me about Bobby Wagner early in free agency, like, why is he still in the market? And I'm like, the reality is he's 32, 33 years old at a heavy contact position. A lot of times teams view linebacker like running back on the defensive side of the ball. And so you get a running back who's 32 years old, even if he's been productive, you're not going to see a lot of teams lining up to sign him, And so I think that's what you're seeing for Bobby Wagner, teams saying, okay, he's 32. We've got to go year by year with him because any year could be the year he drops off, which I don't know if I feel that way, but I think the market is telling Bobby Wagner that, you're towards the end and we just can't allocate a lot of money or a lot of guarantees into you beyond 1 year.
Yeah, no. Clearly, they obviously weren't big on Bobby Wagner because $7 million is not a lot for 1 year, and I think that's where we're at right now. That there's a lot of people now that they're facing. They're dealing with the fact that they're not getting any of the offers that they thought they were going to get now. At
Right,
this point,
right.
we're in a phase now where you're probably haggling with people, and they're kind of pissed off right now that they're still out there.
Yeah, the reality is if you're still in the market right now, whatever you thought you were going to get initially, you did not get. Maybe you still get a decent deal, but maybe you were asking for 12 million and it's not out there. And then you start asking for 10 million and it's not out there. And ultimately you got to accept 7 or 8. And a lot of times when you go lower than what your initial price is, you go to what's comfortable. And so I'm not saying Bobby Wagner could have had an offer out there for 1 year, 7 million, 1 year, 8 million somewhere else. But he's like, hey, if it's going to be this price, I'd rather go back to Seattle where I played most of my career and I'm comfortable and I can make it a sort of a swan song recap of my career. A lot of times if it like you said, if the money becomes a thing where it's a lot lower than I thought, then I'd rather go where home is.
Tight end, it looks to you like the draft because it's a heavy draft in tight ends. They have a second and third round pick. There'll be a bunch of those going during that time.
Absolutely. Like I said before, probably the best tight end draft in a decade is what Daniel Jeremiah, our draft analyst, said. And by result of that, this has been one of the weakest tight end free agency markets we've seen in some time. A lot of guys got a lot less than they hoped to get because teams are waiting and saying, hey, we can get a tight end in the third, the fourth, the fifth round that maybe it would be a starter for us in year one. And we could do it for $800,000 versus 5, 6, 7, up to $10 million. And so, yeah, I do think they go into the draft hoping to get a tight end, and for whatever reason they don't, then maybe they come back to that position after the draft and say, hey, who's still available in the market. But I'd imagine that you look at their lineup as they have it. Durham Smythe, they got Eric Saubert, and they got Tanner Connor essentially as their top 3 tight ends. And all of those guys are probably more fit for the number 2 role. And so there's still room for a guy to come in and take that lead role. But it also tells you that whoever's at that spot's got to be able to block, because you got a guy like Durham Smythe, you got a guy like Eric Saubert. Both of those guys are blockers first. They can certainly catch, but they're blockers first. Mike McDaniel's telling you he needs that for his tight end to get on the field. Obviously, didn't have that for Mike Gesicki. So there's definitely a handful of tight ends in this draft that I think probably start for you day one who can both receive and block. So yeah, that'd be my guess.
Well, apparently, your boy Tom Pelissero is reporting that Lamar Jackson says he requested a trade. I think Lamar Jackson is so out of touch; it's amazing to me. But anyway, he says he sent a letter to his fans. Wait a minute, I think we lost Cam there. Let's see. Do we have Cam back? Cam is back.
Yep.
Here's a letter to my fans. I want to first thank you for all of the love and support you've consistently showed towards me. All of you are amazing, and I appreciate you all so much. I want you to know not to believe everything you read about me. Let me personally answer your questions. And so Lamar Jackson mess continues, and this is no surprise to me. I kind of felt this was going to end in a holdout anyway, because he's just got unrealistic expectations here. And nobody is giving him $200 million guaranteed. They're not giving a running quarterback. The problem is he can't decipher between what happened in Cleveland and what's going on with the rest of the league. And the rest of the league is trying to tell him, bro, that deal was those morons. We're not doing what those morons did. We're not doing that. And so there's a stalemate going on. How's this going to end? Because if he wants to hold out, he has not learned how to gain any kind of leverage in any of this, quite frankly.
This is
he doesn't have an agent.
Right. This has been one of the messier quarterback situations I've seen in some time, especially for a guy who is essentially, for better or for worse, the team's franchise player. And he has been that way for 5 years. He's won an MVP there. Like, he's the face of your franchise. When they sell season tickets, like the Dolphins sell season tickets, they're going to put Tua on the banner. Maybe they have Tyreek and Jalen on the background now, but Tua's on the banner, right? Lamar's on the banner. Lamar's outside the stadium when you put up banners, you sell season tickets, you're doing everything. It's Lamar. And so you figure.
You know what's the worst part about it? What's the worst part about it? I wish he was an asshole.
Yeah.
I wish he was a bad dude. That way I can laugh at him and I can like say, yeah, you know what, bro? This is karma. Good for you. This is a great young man.
Really good dude, dog. Really good dude. And the awesome thing for, like, I know we're South Florida based show. I think what is not talked about Lamar that's really cool about him is that, like, he is a pillar in this community, and he's really created a lot of a whole generation of players, of kids who want to be like Lamar. Like, I've been out there in Pompano Beach, some areas where he's come out here to Fort Lauderdale, and you would think this dude is the president, the way people flock up to him. Like, I don't know if there's a more popular quarterback amongst kids than Lamar Jackson. Like, clearly there are better. Clearly you have a Patrick Mahomes or
it's the other guy.
But I think Lamar, maybe in especially in certain like city communities, Lamar is the most popular quarterback in the league, and because of that, a lot of kids are Ravens fans. And so I always believe if you have a quarterback like that, you figure out a way to make it happen. Whether it's the quarterback figuring out how to stay and taking whatever number he needs to.
Yeah, but it's up to him. He's not doing his part. That's the problem here.
See, I don't know if I put it all on Lamar. I put it on both of them. You figure it out. You figure it out. Like, I always compare these things to, like, relationships, right? I did this on GMFB. Me and my wife. My wife might be upset at me for something, or I might be upset with her for something, and we have an argument that may last for a while. Okay. Typically, it doesn't last long, but if we have an argument that goes for a day or two, at some point for us to stop, one of us, whether it's me or her, it doesn't really matter whose fault it is. Most times, I'll just call it what it is. Most times, I believe it's her fault. She probably believes wholeheartedly it's my fault. But most times, somebody
clearly she doesn't listen to sports radio. But go ahead.
Sometimes somebody has to budge, and I would say probably 80-90% of the times it's me.
Well, it's me. Here's the problem. Here's the problem with that analogy. Okay.
Yeah.
When you're negotiating on two level playing fields. You and your wife. When a NFL team is negotiating with a player, you are basically negotiating with your kid. And that's not really going to go well because there's an IQ level difference. There's a priority level difference. Your child is going to come up with the silliest shit to make their argument, and you're trying to come up with real shit going on. And this is the problem here. We have a child in the negotiations because any player is not an agent. Any player is a neophyte next to a lawyer, next to a contract negotiator that understands every aspect of all of this and can be your shield from the negativity and all that kind of stuff, because you have now put the team in an uncomfortable position that they've got to tell Lamar's mom his negatives. And so all of a sudden now you're dealing with your child, and this is not a way of negotiating, my brother. It's just not.
I disagree with that because I think that's a dangerous comparison. Just my perspective, because if you're comparing Lamar to a kid, then I think you're in a sense.
What I'm talking about is your education.
Right, that's but I think that's dangerous.
I'm just saying your kid is not going to be as smart as you at 10 or 15 or 20 as you are in your years. No player, not Lamar. Any player cannot walk into a negotiation, just like you cannot go into court and go defend yourself. It's the same bullshit. You're too stupid to do that at that point.
I could. See, I think that's dangerous.
You could, but it would be incredibly stupid to do it because you'd rather hire a lawyer that's been at this forever and can go to court and knows every angle of it. And by the way, knows every judge, knows what their tendencies are. All these kind of things that you're not going to know. Here's
what I would say about that. I think that it would be best for Lamar to have an agent. I do personally think that. I have an agent personally for me, because someone that I pay that looks out for my benefits, right?
No shit.
That being said, here comes the but. That being said, I think that I do not knock a player if they decide to go the route without an agent. And I think the idea that they're dumb, they're not intelligent enough to hang in that room is not accurate. It's a dangerous motto. And I think a lot of times that's what players are trying to challenge. We're in a position of player empowerment and leverage where they can have leverage that is equal to a management. That's what they're trying to grow to. Like you said, that you feel like there's a parent-kid relationship between
look at the results. Look at the results, my brother. Look what's going on. He should have had his contract 2 years ago.
Players are trying to change that narrative and make it more even. And so you see guys like Laramie Tunsil, who negotiates a great deal for himself, and without an agent, with the NFLPA rep, and gets a 3-year, $75 million deal that's essentially all guaranteed, resets the market. That's an example of a player who did not use an agent and got the most for himself. And so you see players trying to push themselves to that market. And so there's going to be some ups and downs. Lamar's had a lot of downs, but I do not blame the idea of trying to make it work in your vision of player empowerment.
I do a quarterback contract.
The idea that this guy's a kid or he's not intelligent enough, he may not succeed in getting the most money he wants, but I think he's very strategic and intelligent.
By the way, my criticism is a generality. It doesn't matter. If you want to go to court and represent yourself, you're just as stupid as Lamar is. Okay, I'm just saying that. And by the way, Laramie Tunsil's contract is not nearly as complicated as a quarterback's contract. If you're a quarterback, dude, you need you don't need an agent. You need a badass agent.
Yeah.
Okay, not just an agent. You need to go get Tom Condon. You need to go get somebody that is at the top of their game if you're a quarterback. You know what I'm saying? That's the difference. If you're Magic, if you're Michael, if you're a badass player, okay? If you're LeBron, you need to be handled by somebody that actually knows what the hell they're doing to give you an advantage. You know, that's all I'm saying.
I agree that quarterback contracts are more complex and that Lamar, in my opinion, should have an agent. But I think that the narrative, and this happens a lot, what you're saying throughout the media is that Lamar, if for whatever reason is not intelligent enough to be able to comprehend these type of conversations.
None of us are.
I think that he's intelligent enough, but the experience part would help him. But the idea that he's dumb, I think that's a false narrative.
We all, Cam, we're all dumb when it comes to this. We didn't go to law school. We don't know all the ins and outs. So yes, he is dumb when it comes to this kind of stuff, and so would I be, and so would you be, by the way. None of us know how to handle all these contracts, all the loopholes, what they could try to take advantage of you. Yes, we are generally dumb when it comes to an attorney, when it comes to a doctor, when it comes to a chiropractor, whatever it is. If I've never done it, hell yeah, I'm going to be dumb at it. But at least I'm smart enough to admit that, dude, I'm too stupid to be an agent or to be a lawyer or to be a doctor. I didn't sleep at a Holiday Inn last night, so then all of a sudden I can go out there and just negotiate, for the truckers union. No, dude, I can't do that. That's not who I am. And he has to know who he is. He's a quarterback. He's an athlete. She's a mom. None of them are agents. None of them are lawyers. They're trying to get on the horse now and trying to figure it out. To me, they've gotten thrown off the horse several times. Look where they're at. Does this sound does this look like a successful plan that's being executed right now by Lamar and his mom?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. This has been a messy situation, and I think that it could have been handled a lot more.
It's been handled by uneducated people in this profession.
My whole thing, I do not disagree that I would have done this situation differently. I disagree with the narrative that is uneducated, dumb, and those are the words that I think are very dangerous, and I don't agree with that narrative. That being said, I made clear.
So are you going to go do a couple of physicals and checkups now? Are people coming over to your house? Are you a doctor now?
No, but here's what I would say. If I did have to do, there are people who do deliver babies in situations where they have to deliver babies, right? Hold on. Those people aren't doctors, but if I have a doctor on my phone and is telling me how to do it, I'm not going to do it as good as him, but I can still do it. I can hire someone that's a lawyer.
What is this, airplane? You're flying the plane. The guys in the FAA tower telling you how to fly the plane.
No, I'm telling you, the best situation is for Lamar to have an agent. The best situation is for me to have an agent. But in my personal situation, when I signed my first contract with ESPN, I did not hire an agent. In fact, I had a NFL agent who I called and said, "Hey, these are the numbers and things on my deal. Can you take a look at it for me?" He took a look. He made a suggestion or two to me. I went back and negotiated myself and did it well, and I felt like I got the most for myself. He didn't take a dollar from me. I didn't hire him.
Now, be honest. Be honest. As the contract went on, was there a thing or two you forgot and overlooked? Be honest.
I had to go back and look at certain things, but I don't think there's something I forgot or overlooked. No.
So there was nothing that you forgot that put you at a disadvantage for any little thing. Really?
No, I don't think so. So, like I said,
that's a miracle.
Maybe at some point.
And by the way, you still had to ask for professional advice.
Yes, correct. But my point is, like Laramie Tunsil, he had someone in his corner, Saint Omni, but he had somebody on his corner that he talked to that wasn't necessarily his agent, but gave him advice. I'm not saying that Lamar should and can handle this all by himself. I'm just saying that if he has a team,
there's no doubt he can.
Right. If he has a team that he trusts more than hiring a certain agent, I don't think that makes him dumb. It may not be my preferred route. It may not be your preferred route. And it may not be the best thing for him. But I don't think that makes him dumb or not intelligent because he wants to go a different route. That's my whole point.
Oh, well, okay. I mean, I get it. But for me, it's just he would be out of this mess already if he wouldn't be in this mess, actually, if he had an agent. That's just, to me, the automatic and all of this. It's a real shame. By the way, you have a feeling right now, if I put you in a corner, which this is an impossible question, what do the Dolphins take in the second round?
I say a tight end. There will be several tight ends there that are available for them, and so I would say that they find a tight end there in the second round.
Yeah, me, it's tight end and then tackle.
Tackle would be great too.
Because there'll be another tight end in the third round.
Yeah, there could definitely be a tackle. You can get a
there may not be the right tackle you want in the third round, but the right tackle you may want might be at that 51st pick, And then you say, you know what? There's still a couple tight ends. We might still be able to get one in the third. But I'm with you. You either get the tight end or a tackle is my second pick. And that's why we haven't seen as much movement.
Yeah. Huh? Or, and like I said, I know it may shock some people, but I still wouldn't rule out maybe a safety. I know you signed a Deshaun Elliott there, but him or a linebacker, I can see one of those positions too. But yeah, if I was putting money on it, I'd probably say those two positions. You can get a Matthew Burgon from Syracuse, come in and be a right tackle there for you. Blake Freeland from BYU, probably be there. Jalen Duncan from Maryland. Like these are potential right tackles that you could fit in there. I don't think a lot of people have said, oh, Darnell Wright's going in the first round. He's not going to be there for you. Most likely Darnell Washington, the other tight end from Georgia, is probably not going to be there for you. And so you're looking for either the second wave of tackles, or maybe your second or third tight end on your board is probably your choice there at 51.
The league is littered with second round tackles everywhere. Yep. The history of the league is littered with them, so they can get one there. All right, follow him on Twitter at Cameron Wolfe and catch his work there at the NFL Network. And on Thursday, wish him a happy birthday. It's birthday boy on Thursday, March 30th.
Absolutely. I will be I'm leaving out tomorrow. My wife is taking me on a birthday trip, so I'm looking forward to it. I turned 30. Getting old, man. Getting old. I can't say I'm 20.
Do you ever turn to your parents and thank them and say, I'm glad you didn't have sex a month earlier?
Right. Yeah.
You'd be celebrating your birthday once every 4 years, dude.
True. A day earlier, right? If I was the February 29th, right? A month and a day earlier. Yeah, because I'm the 30th. So right. February 29th.
You don't want to be right. That's the second to last day of March because there's the 31st. But imagine if you ended up in the last day of February, bro. Come on, that sucks.
A funny brief story. My mom had a choice to have me on April 1st or the 30th, and she said she didn't want to have to deal with having an April Fool's baby, and so she decided the 30th, and that's why I am March 30th.
And she was thinking that she might have to call you fool. Also, so that's not that either.
Well, she might call me that privately sometime. Either way.
That's my wife's nickname for me every single day. But that's for another day. All right, Cam. Appreciate you, my brother. We'll catch up later in the week, birthday boy.
All right, sounds good. All right, man.
Later. There you go. So Thursday, get on Twitter and wish him a happy birthday. We have unleashed the Wolf Pack.